Thank you very much for your applause and the great introduction, Verena. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. When you talk about experts, it's a bit relativized. But as Irina said, 1.5 years, was about AI was completely new, and talked about well, that will all be great with AI. And at the time, I talked about fruit, and at the end, Stefan Meyer's Turing test talked about raspberries. And I asked ChatGPT in one of the first version, so give me a recipe for different types of fruit, and I said I do what I'm asked to do, and I got a great recipe for anything. Heat, warm everything up, and then in the end, you've got your marmalade. A lot of people laughed at the time about AI, and it's not that far, and very arrogant. I left the stage and said, if AI probably tells me, Stefan, that is a silly idea. You don't do this normally. Just do something different. And at the time, I said, then I really fear AI, because AI then can draw conclusions and combine them. And with the next ChatGPT version, AI said, okay, raspberry jam. No, that's not a good idea. It's not a good combination. And for me, the time, it was the point where I found out that when you have sort of very rather banal subjects, the speed of development is very large. Horst Huber said that the AI people refused to talk about AI because the speed of development of AI is too fast. And it is a problem, especially when you talk about current developments. Because what I would like to do today is to go back a little, step back a little bit. We have very specialized AI talks that we will hear at priint. And we said, so what if you take a look at the entire picture? So where is AI going to? And speed of change 2 years after ChatGPT, in terms of technology, that is not very much. We know how long did radio and television take, etc. pp. But you can, when you're 68 after AI, the technology is not all that new. So it's 68 years ago, I think it was at Dartmouth College, that the first time the students discussed AI. And of course, we have an enormous speed of change, but technology is developing, also sometimes disruptive to the left and to the right. But what created or brought about this impact, and not only the German reality in terms of data formats, but worldwide? Well, all this meta structures and technologies that were not that dynamic. Nothing much happened there. This one discussed something about social media, and Facebook's relatively old, but all the social networks, digital marketing we've been talking about for 20 years. But then all of a sudden technology appeared that was enormously dynamic, driven by the big players, hardly any Germans, but the big providers of language models brought an enormous dynamics into this. And so, well, priint day 1.5 years ago, you can do some text, you can do some graphic design, and we had some interesting parts of all these chunks, and now this enter different dimensions.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is...
Schrodinger's cat.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. When all of these tools come together, it's a powerful combination.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's an entire suite of different kind of possibilities.
Hi, I'm Gemini. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London.
Together, we're creating a new era.
Well, that's exactly what's happening now. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, that AI is entering any field and areas. And in generative AI, we heard a lot about video, text, photos. Well, we had clear plans by integrating AI and turn search into find. And Horst Huber gave us the example, the intern asked ChatGPT, and I wouldn't have done this, but the big players at the end of the day will become the first and only contact. And that's a field where this is about find products, find metadata, find information. I won't say it's big problems, but it's a great challenge. Of course, and you have an enormous number of tools, never-ending development. Well, Google, I can upload a PDF, and that turns this into a podcast with two persons that sound really natural. Whatever you apply it is, the technology underlying this is great. And we come out of a stage and people don't understand there's a new tool, this is happening, there is something else happening. And I can't follow this. You feel the pressure on the one hand, but on the other hand too, also you have the possibility in a very democratic way to play with these technologies, and that used to require high investments in the past and knowledge, technology. And ChatGPT says, ask me a question and I'll give you an answer. That's all. Well, it's a nice situation, but on the other hand, because my roots are in creativity, and when we don't need graphic designers, we don't need videos, and the marketing is done by AI, etc. And the older people here know this. They remember when Word started. It said, Word, and I do accents. I create books, and it was completely inexplicable. So the Comic Sans era appeared, and this is the era and the phase we're in now. That a lot of people play around with a lot, which is okay on the one hand with knowledge on technology, but we mustn't forget what does the company want at the end of the day. What does the company want to do? Like you can do bricolage, you can do it yourself. It's a bad in AI to find some workers to do work. It's difficult. But when this is about use in companies, it's no good to have one tool on the left and one tool on the right. It doesn't fit into the system landscape. So that we could replace the creative persons, and criticism in the use scenarios apply and has grown in the field of creativity, and it was seen as a competitor. What I didn't really understand fully, that at the end, as nice it is to get some information or a video, but I think you went into the wrong direction there, because the things that you could do really well, you try to replace by AI. But things that we do not like doing, we didn't ask AI to do. So it cannot be that AI does the things well that I can do well, and I have to do it myself with the dirty, so to say, stuff. And here my appeal is to, when you use AI, please think about whether AI does not make more sense in other fields of application, because it can generate data very quickly and process data very quickly. The Martians here, I mean, it doesn't matter if there's 3, 4, 5, or 6 fingers in AI. When you deal with people, you have to take a very close look at what's required. But the question is, don't do this for sort of something like mass processing of data, help with Excel, rather than write a nice text which falls into my domain. On the one hand, criticism that AI is replacing me, and the feeling, the uneasiness about the speed of development, and you get to the point quickly. So, well, internet, it will disappear. So we had the same discussion that was triggered by bubbles in the field of shares, company shares, and then the technology said, well, AI will not generate the sales for the companies. Or Job's Landgrave is compared with the steam engine, the innovative power of AI is limited. You can say this at this point in time, but I think this is not right, and this is dangerous, because we do not really know where we are going in the future. So here too, haven't we seen really the end of AI, or everything that AI can do? And well, this is all hype. And then you ask yourself whether this AI boom is over, a realistic view of whatever is happening outside. Who would have thought something like ChatGPT would appear 3 years later, when we talked about it 3 years ago? But on the other hand, you also say, well, there are indicators, and there is experience from the past about new technologies. There are certain phases, and Horst showed the hype side, the graph, and where we are. And of course, some technologies disappear, but where we are, actually, that is very subjective. And Horst said the peak of too high expectations. I think we're now in the valley of tears, because AI doesn't save the world. We don't have to work anymore. But you will reach the plateau of productivity, and that will be used in companies, in company processes, in the normal work, action, or personal work, like with ChatGPT and so forth. When you want to be cynical, you could also apply this to relationships. But let me not comment on that. But in a way, I'd like to say, how will this continue? What's happening currently, and which development can we already see? What you have is the growing knowledge that AI is a great thing, that it'll become better and better. But why is AI getting always better, and how AI can do so. And that, in a philosophical sense, it's what human knowledge, what humans have generated in terms of knowledge in the past, is being processed here. And if we go away from philosophy and take a look at economic media companies, for instance, where I'm coming from, they don't think this is very funny, because this is how they make their money. Now, AI takes this information, does completely new things, which and companies are not included in the value chain anymore, which is not very nice. So on the one hand, if things that we generated are being processed, what do I get for this? But also then the question, how can I protect my own data? How can I prevent AI from working with my data without my agreement? And this, if it explicitly don't want to do this, and that's what's being discussed at the moment. I sort of think, okay, the situation is as it is. We think of Google, search engines, and big media companies. So, of course, yeah, they generate traffic, and why don't we let them use our content? But we want to have a share in this, and so also to say, like everybody else, just take it, and I get a share of this. I don't want to give a moral statement on it. It's completely legal, but 10 million for Axel Springer, what's the problem here? That's all the smallest and the medium-sized companies are not included here.
So that's why many companies now are thinking intensively about how AI can be used without forwarding these data, or at least not feeding them into AI. And there are various methods. One method is RAG. This is something that many companies are dealing with at the moment. How can I, if I take internal company data, which is a highly risky area, where can I secure and protect my company internal data, but at the same time use AI? And one model is these retrieval and generation systems. And these are now being used on a wide scale. Lots of tests being carried out. Many technology companies are very active in this respect. And I think that will be something we have to deal with over the next couple of years. And of course, we have the situation, yes, this every day we have new tools, and will this flatten off? But I've been thinking for months at some stage things must stop, but there was always something happening. And Horst Huber said that someone is again developing another new model. So personally, I think it's very interesting to see that the reasoning was that this new model can reflect for longer. So AI that, okay, sometimes I reflect for a long time, but AI that ultimately, but provides results later, but therefore better results. I found that very interesting. And of course, the thought is that perhaps AI is becoming increasingly human, but that's a philosophical question, and I'm not a philosophical person. So that's why it's all these comic tools, AI tools being used left, right, and center. That's all very well, but this can be a source of support. But what happens and what do we have to think about? We talked previously about the subject AI as a marketing label. There's almost nothing today involving AI. Well, I would say in most cases 80% is marketing, but we have to think about how how we can pack this AI under the hood. And one subject that will remain with us, and this will be continue to be one of the major problems, and will increase disproportionately. And let me give you a small example. The last time I was here, people were talking about ChatGPT and saying you're crazy, but at the time, I asked ChatGPT for 5 podcasts in a certain field, and ChatGPT produced the answer immediately. And afterwards, we ascertained that these 5 podcasts don't exist at all. So it was hallucination. That's quite harmless. The worst thing that can happen is that we publish a report and everybody laughs, but ultimately not much can happen. But given the fact that AI is being used in ever more places and in an ever less visible manner, we can have problems. Because here, for example, Martin Benklauer, the person you see here, is a journalist in Tübingen, and he spent many years as a court reporter. He reported on all types of crime, and so completely normal other than the crime reporting. But then he used Microsoft Copilot and did what we used to call ego Google, asking, and I asked Google, who is Martin Benklauer? And this got then very unpleasant. And the AI portrayed him as a murderer, child molester. And the main reason was because Copilot linked 2 sources of information reporting on court procedures, child molesting, and linked these 2 pieces of information in the wrong manner. And this sounds very abstract, but I would not like that to happen to me, because that makes the subject of fake news very real. And that's Bernd Klauer, as a reaction, said, no, that's not on. And he filed the legal action. And then a couple of mechanisms took place that are very unpleasant in this legal situation, because the public prosecutor said that this can only be used against natural persons, and KI is not a natural person, so it's not possible to file action against KI. So then people said, okay, let's go a step further. The data protection officer wrote a report, drew attention to the subject, and I hope you are all in contact with data protection officer. He lodged a complaint, and Microsoft took a very customer-centered approach and said, yes, okay, we'll remove that. But that was still in the system for a couple of days. And then if you look at complaints against child molesters, everybody who uses this chat declares themselves in agreement with the content, and then it was stated that Microsoft assumes no liability. So here again, this great golden AI world that will undoubtedly come, it will integrate into more and more companies and make everybody happy, but it also has its dark side that will concern ourselves in a very massive manner. So there are unfortunately many other similar cases. For example, the Pope in a Prada suit, and that's not funny. So the topics, data sovereignty, many people are talking about this. It's becoming increasingly important. The development of protective system, the subject of content overflow on the one hand. This goes from product data through to newspaper reports or books that are generated using AI. That will be a major problem. And of course, the problem of visibility will crop up again. So how can I make my own content visible in this context? Fake content will, of course, become a problem. And of course, this phase of the flood of tools will probably, I think, will not decrease that great, but there will come a situation where people say this is completely unproductive. It doesn't take us forward as a company. We have our specialist areas. There we'll use AI, but and no one will notice that AI is involved. And something that also plays a role is, yes, at a meta level, the subject of AI, fake news, that's silly. But what does artificial intelligence ultimately mean in reality? And this, as I said, I'm not a philosopher, but we will have to concern ourselves with this subject one day, and hopefully we won't be too late in doing so. We will have to look at what we have created. Is it something that takes us forward in our work or as a society? We perhaps open a can of worms that perhaps one day drowns not only in fake news, but perhaps in worse things. That question will no doubt arise. And here, the person who described AI as the third existential illness, Galileo and Darwin, okay, everybody knows him. Galileo, who told us, he's not at the focal point here. He talked about the universe, the earth, etc. But Darwin, the person who declared that we are apes, which is genetically not that wrong. So the question is, if AI acquires similar status, what would it do with us? And here, I like to show this statement from Sam Altman, and I think if Sam Altman had his way, then this is a typically American statement: we will all die, but until then we will do good business. But before we come to the end of the world, I've been asked to draw attention to what's going on today and tomorrow. And here there will be a lot of elements about AI. Many presentations will deal explicitly with AI. Exciting terms like subjects like smart leadership, data content of responsible AI, e-commerce is an aspect, marketing workflows, artificial intelligence for the garbage can, or PIM with KI, with AI, PIM with AI, and these are the subject that will be dealt with today and tomorrow. Interesting topics on AI. This will be dealt with in the individual areas. So my task was to take a look from the top, and I hope that the bird's eye view has met with your interest. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stefan. If you have questions, I will throw this to you, and then you can ask Stefan your questions. Who wants to ask a question? It could also be comments or observations. Maybe I've been talking rubbish. Just talk here. Okay. Do you, with publishers, do you see a certain dilemma? I'm dependent on Google. I have to share my data to become visible. I have to make these public to my readers, and then people concern themselves with the right system to prevent them from having to issue their data. What's your view? Okay, this takes us further. So the dilemma is many media companies need traffic from the outside, and Google or other search engines have taught people because they needed content from companies in order to make their own platforms or search engines interesting. But the problem is things are changing. It changes before AI because the platforms, you ask a question and this is answered on the Google sub-side, and this, of course, is being exacerbated through AI, and ultimately, different subject, but what will ultimately come is that the traffic from the search engine reaches the companies. This traffic could be negligible because this all goes on the Google side, but the company still has to generate content to interest their customers. So this is not easy. It's all related to communities, etc. But the trend is becoming clear, and this will become a major problem for many companies because at some stage, Google will no longer need the company information. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I think you're like me. You need some coffee. Okay, here's a question. Thank you for the presentation. I will be delivering a presentation, and I've looked at lots of papers and etc. And the good thing that we have an increasing number of scientific information. One thing I found very interesting, but is not reflected in the public dialogue, is the question related to data from 2 points of view. First of all, we have a lot of AI-generated content on the web, and as a result, the quality of the things generated declines because AI is fed with its own information. And the other thing is that the data volume used to train the models, these data volumes are enormous, and that the overwhelming share of data available is out of date and fake. So we will not get a lot more data than we already have. Would you say the data volumes will rise again, or are they shooting themselves in the foot? Well, the data volumes have had decades in which to grow. So we have a huge mountain. AI providers have a huge mountain, but now we're taking small steps. But in the field of specialist information that is not easily accessible to AI systems, for example, medical or legal information, and these are all talking about isolating the own systems. We will no longer have these leaps like Stefan telling, i.e. saying after 2 months, forget this is out of date. We will probably no longer experience these huge leaps because the data have already been analyzed, but in AI there will be an optimization process. We have ChatGPT OI reflects for longer, but the examination of the data volumes is increasing, and everything is becoming more expensive. So the question or the comment, worldwide knowledge is exhausted. Now we need specialist information. The other point, content overflow. Of course, we see this in many things in the audiobooks, the things integrated into audiobooks. The problem is, first of all, we have humanly generated AI. How much AI is actually involved? That's not an easy question to answer, and we will have to look at what is of relevance to me that has nothing to do with AI. But we will have, if I, for example, go into a restaurant, 3 menus, that's fairly easy. But if I have 5,000 menus, I will have a problem. Discoverability, things will get much more difficult. And the final comment in this respect, degenerative content, of course, you have to think, or let's put it differently, human content is no longer such that we can't say AI could not do it better. In marketing, in certain areas, the situation that with specialist information, well, I think, but everything that's normal utilization, text or charts, I think AI can do it better than me. That's the truth. Okay, thank you very much, Stefan. And then we will now grant you your